Welcome to the deep dive. Bienvenue. Today, we're continuing our journey into the past. We're revisiting the Japanese arcade scene, specifically February 1979, through the lens of the bi-monthly magazine Game Machine.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating snapshot. We're diving into the original reports from Game Machine to pull out the key insights, the facts and trends shaping the industry right then. Think of it as your shortcut to understanding a pretty pivotal moment.
Exactly. It's like a backstage pass in 1979. We'll look at the big players, Sega, Nintendo, Taito, Namco, and what they were up to, plus their competitors. We're not just summarizing, we want to show you the shifts, the innovations, maybe share a few interesting anecdotes too. Okay, let's get into it. Industry Snapshot Game Machine's February 1979 survey. So our main guide here is Game Machine's own survey from February 79, issue 113. They actually went out and asked operators across Japan, hey, which machines made the most money? Which were most popular this past year?
Straight from the source.
You get the real picture from the people running the arcades.
And what just jumps out immediately is the sheer dominance of Taito's Space Invaders. I mean, the survey results are pretty stark.
Stark is a good word.
It got 59 mentions in the best of 3 rankings.
Right.
And if you add in the similar Cosmic Monster games, basically clones, it goes up to 64 responses.
Wow.
That's almost half of all the top mentions in the entire survey. It wasn't just a hit game, it was like reshaping the whole scene. A true phenomenon.
And here's where it gets really interesting conceptually. The survey pointed out something crucial. It said Space Invaders and the Breakout type games. They weren't just popular, they established entirely new concepts.
Right. A move away from simulation.
Yeah, exactly. A total departure from the racing games, the sports simulations, that kind of thing. Game Machine compared it to the impact pinball had back in the 30s. It was a fundamental shift.
A whole new way to play, really. Demanding different skills, reaction time, strategy, pattern recognition. It wasn't just mimicking reality anymore.
And Breakout games are still holding strong too, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. They got 38 mentions across different versions, block games, Scratch, Super Breakout. So that non-simulation category was really taking hold. And the table-type games, the cocktail tables, they were booming, with Invaders being the top pick for that format. People wanted that sit-down social experience.
The survey also gave hints about other parts of the market, metal games, for instance. They were described as being in a search phase.
Still figuring things out.
Yeah, like operators weren't quite sure how best to use them yet, and writing machines were getting more diverse. There was a shift towards realistic SL steam locomotive models and battery-powered cars. Even the simpler stuff was evolving.
And a big underlying trend was the move towards more expensive machines. Often 100 yen a play, which was quite a bit then.
Definitely.
That was driven by the new microcomputer tech going into these games. So operators had this challenge, right? How do you balance your classic, cheaper games with these new high-tech, high-earning machines? It was a big economic shift for them. Key players and their pivotal moves.
Speaking of shifts, let's talk Taito. Riding that massive Space Invaders wave, they were making some really big moves. Not just selling their own machines, but licensing Invaders like crazy.
Aggressively. IBM Japan, Sammy Industry, Logitech, Shindy Honkaku, Jotrek. The list goes on.
They wanted it everywhere.
Absolutely. It wasn't just about the money, though that was huge. It was about market saturation, making it the game. And you know that Disco Space Invaders record?
Oh yeah, the Ilpon Records one.
Get this. That wasn't even Taito's idea. It apparently came about because DJs just loved the game's sounds. So a record company ran with it, put in the sound effects, that kitschy chorus. Let's all together do Space Invaders.
That's amazing. Shows how much it caught on culturally.
Totally organic. And Taito kept innovating on the hardware, too. They launched the TT Space Invaders that month.
A color one?
Yeah, with a color monitor, which was a big deal visually. And it had this cool 3-in-1 mechanism. Operators could switch it between Black Fever, Space Stranger, and Space Fighter. Gave the hardware more life, more variety. Smart move.
Okay, so what about Nintendo? They were busy building, literally.
Right. They finished their new Kyoto headquarters, moved in on February 1st. Their Tokyo branch moved too. That signals major growth, serious investment in their future. They were scaling up.
And the survey showed their strength, too. Their metal games like EVR Race and EVR Baseball were doing really well.
Proving their diversification was working.
And some of their older arcade hits were still popular. Okanaga Goya, Super Speed Race, Scratch, Circus Circus. A solid foundation.
But they were also pushing new TV games. Space Fighter came out interesting that they offered it in both color and black and white, catering to different budgets.
Good point.
And Space Fever, which had 3 different game types in one cabinet. Plus Block Fever, a new computer DX machine. They were experimenting, trying different things, not just sticking to one formula.
Now, Sega made a big corporate move that month. They bought shares in Esco Bueki.
Yeah, and they brought ESCO's president, Mr. Nakayama, over as Sega's vice president, effective Feb 1st as well.
So consolidation, talent grab.
Bit of both, I think. Strategic consolidation, bringing in experienced leadership, shows they were thinking about structure and expertise, not just games. Important in such a fast-moving market.
Did they release new games too?
They did. Sega Space Attack T4, a table-type color game, jumping into that popular format, and the third Sega Space Attack game focusing on UFOs, clearly riding the invaders' wave.
Makes sense.
And they diversified by distributing electronic pinball, too, like Williams Phoenix and Adventure, covering more bases.
Okay, and Namco. They were looking outwards, weren't they?
Yeah, thinking globally. They signed an international technical agreement for Clay Champ with the UK company Mayfield Diamond. That shows ambition beyond Japan.
And their games were doing well domestically.
Definitely. The survey mentioned Clay Champ, Shooterway, F1, Spray Eye, GB, Submarine, all popular. And they had this new game, GB, which sounded really interesting.
Ooh, special about it.
It blended pinball elements with a TV game screen, kind of a hybrid. Showed some real creative thinking, trying to mix things up.
Namco was also distributing pinball, right? Like Atari.
Right. They brought Atari's Space Rider to Japan, fancy machine bike rider design, double flippers, dual action, price pretty high, 720,000 yen. Showed there was a market for those premium, complex pinball experiences too. Broader industry events and underlying trends. Looking wider, there was the big trade show in London, ADE79, in late January, but it sounds like it was chaos.
Yeah, reports mentioned massive strikes, public servants, railways, plus a really bad cold snap that actually closed Heathrow Airport.
Wow. Tough time for a show.
Apparently, a lot of international folks couldn't even get there, but the Japanese delegation, including Game Machines people, they made it. Showed some serious dedication.
And what was the big takeaway from the show, despite the problems?
Japanese products absolutely dominated, especially Taito's Space Invaders again. Huge crowds around their booth. It just confirmed their global impact.
And it cemented that trend towards electronic circuit boards everywhere, right? Not just video games, but pinball, even the UK fruit machines.
Exactly. Technology was shifting across the board, and the number of Invaders clones at AD
confirmed its massive influence.
Yeah. It was clear these new kinds of non-simulation games were creating whole new markets, pushing the industry towards being more global, more structured.
Back in Japan, IBM Japan was making waves too, not just licensing Invaders.
No, they were holding their own product shows in Osaka and Tokyo, showing off table games like Mahjong, their own color, IPM Invaders, New Block X. They were serious about competing in the arcade space.
And get this, for their 10th anniversary, IBM Japan took 180 employees on a training trip to Hawaii.
A training trip to Hawaii for 180 people.
Yeah, and apparently other companies like Showa Amusement Machine even joined them. It's just such a massive investment in people, in culture. Really unusual for the amusement industry back then. Speaks volumes about their growth and maybe their different corporate background.
But it wasn't all smooth sailing for the industry, was it? Universal was talking openly about problems.
Right. They brought up ethics, copying games, price dumping, real challenges that come with rapid growth.
And their solution. They talked about needing total service, supporting operators fully, and focusing on making games that were genuinely enjoyable, maybe even stress-relieving.
Which is pretty insightful, actually. It shows a growing awareness of the industry's impact. Not just making money, but thinking about the player experience, the social role. A sign of the industry maturing, maybe. Grappling with its own success.
It suggests they saw amusement as more than just distraction, maybe even therapeutic.
Potentially, yeah. That idea of relieving modern stress,
Yeah.
it's a deeper way of thinking about entertainment.
And things were heating up legally, too, even in the U.S. Magnavox sued Bally over TV game patents.
Right, intellectual property battles were starting, a sign of the stakes getting higher. And Atari saw big management changes, too, with Pesnell replaced, then Keenan, then Kasser hemming in. Lots of movement, even at the very top.
So when you pull it all together, what does this snapshot of February 1979 really tell us? You've got Space Invaders just completely changing the game.
We're really changing the game concepts, yeah.
You have the big companies making major strategic plays, licensing acquisitions, new HQs, and you see these global trends taking shape, even amidst chaos like the ATE show. It really feels like a turning point.
Absolutely. That shift away from simulation, the rise of the cocktail table, the tech getting more complex, It all paved the way for the next phase of arcades.
Yeah.
Reading these game machine reports, you really sense an industry booming, innovating like crazy, but also starting to grapple with its own identity and responsibilities.
It feels like the foundations of the modern entertainment industry were being laid right there. That mix of tech, design, player engagement, it was all evolving so fast. What's a final thought for people to take away from this era?
For me, maybe it's that point Universal was making. The idea that these games weren't just about fun, but maybe offered something more, a release, a way to cope with stress. The fact that the industry was starting to think about that, even back then, amidst the boom, it's pretty interesting to consider.